Realistically, we did not expect much clarity from the government as to the return of flying. The decision on July the 9th has gone back to July the 20th. That leaves us way behind the rest of Europe. Remember, the EU Commission decided on May 27 to reopen borders. They did so on June 15. EASA and the European CDC put in the regulations for aviation on June the 12th. And now Ireland is moving towards July the 20th, giving us a green list of countries we may travel to. The borders have already reopened and the flights restarted last Wednesday.
I mean, well, the whole country is open up for tourism, as it is now, as of yet, so to speak. You know, so the point is that we are gathering from the Spanish Tourism Board the list of amenities and hotels that are actually in place, servicing already the tourism sector.
And a different world it is. Cameras checking the temperature of arriving passengers at the terminal. Temperature checks and medical staff on hand to greet passengers from Dublin in Malta, one of the first flights to go out last Wednesday. The flights from England will not start until next week.
In this case, we have the 8th. There is a pilot flight from United Nations World Tourism Organization and Promotour, which is the regional body for promoting tourism in the Canary Islands. And they are flying some from Dublin, some from London, and they are traveling from Madrid in the end, and they are going to Lanzarote and other Irish important destinations. You have to check in advance. You have to, as you know, put all the luggage, if you could, inside the plane. There is this personal locating form, like here in Ireland, and we have this key destination, these refugee hotels, and everything is in place to receive safely and healthy, in a healthy manner, healthy fashion, tourists from Europe.
Europe are pushing hard to open, and I think if we're to see any benefit of that, maybe in August, September, the difficulty with the quarantine period when people return, I think that's really, deterring people that maybe otherwise might go.
There are many Irish people that could be concerned about the fact that what happens if you get sick when you are over there. It's something that, we are keeping this low rate of infection in the main Irish destinations like Lanzarote.
Naval tradition, we will use nets to divide spaces into 16 square meter plots, 4 by 4 meters large.
4 to 4 square meters, 16 square meters for you. Well, mostly they have to be wearing mostly mandatory in any closed space, actually, in Spain. Not only like here, it depends on the traffic, in the transit system, etc., DART, etc. But in open spaces, it depends on how crowded it is. You don't need to wear it.
The taxi experience has changed too. Perspex between the passenger and the driver, and a mask to be worn on board.
You know that there are many destinations that they are not mandatory to wear a mask when you are sunbathing and taking a bath. Indeed. Only for safety reasons. You have. This is a multi-layer approach. Lanzarote is open, Malaga Costa del Sol is open. So this is an important list because sometimes the travel agents, they don't know whether it is open or not. This kind of amenities. PortAventura open, is it closed? So we're providing this list in order to exchange information, because this is a crisis and a matter of confidence and trust, and as well of information. It has to flow. Well, first of all, they are receiving many people, even from many countries in Europe, that they have a second residence in our country. So they are not worrying about, in some cases, there is this quarantine for some countries, but they are not worried about that because they plan to spend the whole summer and even, the winter season. And we work so hard to open up in due time and to be ready for the rest of the summer season, and indeed September, October and November, especially in the Canary Islands. And we are developing our own national standards that they will be built upon the layers of these European Safety Agency guidelines.
If the travel industry and indeed the consumer was looking for some understanding of the huge difficulties in this new period when flights are operating and compensation is no longer a given, An interview by the new Minister for Transport, Eamon Ryan, on Today with Sarah McInerney would not be filling them with hope.
Won't lose their money if they don't go and if they follow the government's advice. Is that something that you have considered or would consider?
A compensation fund has been introduced in the sense that for people who book through tour operators, a good time back in most cases in this instance, if the flights don't go or if the business isn't able to operate the holiday, that the government have guaranteed that refund scheme. So there is a form of refund there. Most people who are taking flights at the present time will have booked it probably in the last 6 months. And I don't believe it is appropriate, when everyone knew that there was going to be some sort of travel.
They booked it last September. A lot of people book their summer holidays a year in advance.
Most of those would have been through tour operators. Most people are booking package holiday a distance in advance. That is covered, as I said earlier. I worked in tourism for many years. Most people in booking summer holidays through a tour operator, that tends to be a long-term booking. Most people booking flights is in a more short-term.
Refund credit note is great. It's really, really great. I mean, and it gives the customer confidence that, God forbid if we go out of business, then once we've issued the credit note to them, they know that money is guaranteed. But that's fine for money that we know is coming. But that doesn't solve the problem whereby the supplier says, no, our service is operating, so therefore there is no refund. That's the real problem.
The captain has just thanked us for trusting Ryanair on this flight. After 3 months in which trust in every aspect of the travel business has been undermined, we really need things to change soon.
The passenger locator form has to be filled in upon arrival. This is now a new part of our travel.
My name is Eoghan Corry. Travelwrap is sponsored by the Irish Travel Agents Association. The views here are my own.